When Emma bought this old painting for just $1, everyone smiled and walked away. But hidden inside its dusty frame was a secret someone had spent decades trying to protect. And the moment she discovered it, her life changed forever. Emma Collins had always believed that every forgotten object carried a story. While most people visited garage sales looking for bargains, Emma searched for memories, old books with handwritten notes, vintage clocks that had stopped ticking decades ago, family photographs left behind by strangers. To her, they weren't just old things. They were tiny pieces of someone's life. Every Saturday morning, without fail, Emma drove through small neighborhoods searching for garage sales. She never expected to become rich. She simply loved the feeling that history could be hiding anywhere. On one cool autumn morning, she noticed a small handwritten sign on the side of a quiet road. Garage sale. The driveway belonged to an old white wooden house surrounded by giant oak trees. Boxes filled with dusty antiques covered the lawn. There were rocking chairs, old radios, rusty bicycles, broken lamps, and shelves stacked with forgotten memories. Only a few people wandered around. Most glanced at the items for a few seconds before leaving. Emma slowly walked from table to table. Nothing caught her attention. She was about to leave when she noticed something leaning against the garage wall. An old landscape painting. It showed a peaceful lake surrounded by snow-covered mountains. A tiny wooden cabin stood near the water. The artwork itself wasn't extraordinary. In fact, the colors had faded badly. The canvas had small cracks from age. Yet, something about it felt different. Emma stepped closer. The frame was unusually thick, much thicker than any normal painting. She gently lifted it. Her eyebrows rose. It was surprisingly heavy, far heavier than a simple canvas should have been. A faded red price sticker remained attached to one corner. $1. Emma smiled. Just then, an elderly woman sitting quietly on a folding chair looked toward her. "You actually like that old painting?" Emma nodded. "I don't know why, but it feels special." The woman gave a small smile. "My husband bought it nearly 50 years ago. He always refused to throw it away, even when we moved, even after the colors faded." Emma looked back at the painting. "Did he paint it himself?" The woman slowly shook her head. "No, he never told me where it came from. He only said one day someone would understand why it mattered." Emma felt a strange chill run down her arms. The woman laughed softly. "I suppose he was just being sentimental. If you want it, it's yours for $1. Emma reached in her pocket, pulled out a single-dollar bill, and handed it over. The elderly woman looked at the painting one last time before quietly whispering, "I hope it finally finds the person it was waiting for." Emma frowned. "What do you mean?" The woman simply smiled. "I honestly don't know. My husband took that secret with him." Emma carefully carried the painting to her car. As she placed it inside the trunk, she noticed something strange. The frame produced a dull wooden sound when it touched the floor. Not solid. Almost hollow. She paused. Maybe she imagined it. After all, old wood often sounded different. Still, the feeling stayed with her throughout the drive home. That evening, Emma leaned the painting against the wall of her apartment. Golden sunlight streamed through the windows as dust floated gently through the air. She grabbed a soft cloth and began cleaning decades of dirt from the frame. As more of the wood became visible, she noticed tiny scratches running along the back, perfectly straight, almost as though someone had carefully removed the frame before and sealed it again. Her curiosity grew. She gently knocked on the wooden frame. Tap, tap, tap. Then, thunk. One corner sounded completely different. Emma froze. She knocked again. Tap, tap, thunk. The hollow sound came from exactly the same place. Her heartbeat became louder. Why would only one section be hollow? She turned the painting over, running her fingers across the back. She suddenly felt something. A tiny metal screw hidden beneath years of dried paint. Almost invisible. Almost as if someone had wanted to make sure nobody would ever notice it. Emma stared at it. Her breathing slowed. Whatever was hidden inside this $1 painting had been hidden deliberately. And for the first time that day, she realized she hadn't simply bought an old painting. She had unknowingly become part of a mystery that had waited decades for someone to uncover it. Emma couldn't take her eyes off the tiny screw. It had been hidden so carefully that no ordinary person would have ever noticed it. She walked to the kitchen, grabbed a small precision screwdriver, and returned to the painting. For a moment, She hesitated. Part of her wondered if she was about to destroy a piece of history. But another part, the curious part, needed answers. She carefully turned the screwdriver. The old metal groaned. The screw hadn't moved in decades. She applied a little more pressure. Click. The rust finally gave way. Emma slowly removed the tiny screw and placed it on the table. Nothing happened. She gently pressed against the thick wooden frame. It refused to move. She frowned. There has to be another latch. Running her fingers across every inch of the frame, she suddenly felt something. One tiny wooden corner felt smoother than the rest, almost polished. She pressed it. A soft click echoed through the room. Emma jumped. Very slowly, the back panel slid open by less than an inch. At that exact moment, a warm golden reflection escaped from inside, not because something was glowing, but because the evening sunlight struck polished metal hidden within. Emma's heart raced. Someone had built a secret compartment inside an ordinary painting. She carefully pulled the panel away. Inside lay 3 objects, wrapped in faded linen cloth. The first, an antique brass key unlike anything she'd ever seen. Its bow was engraved with intricate vines surrounding the letter A. The second, a bundle of yellowed handwritten letters tied together with a faded blue ribbon. The third, a dark leather envelope sealed with cracked red wax. Emma stared silently. Why would anyone hide these things? She picked up the key first. It felt surprisingly heavy, not decorative, made to unlock something important. Then she reached for the letters. The first page was dated October 17th, 1971. The handwriting was elegant. My dearest Amelia, if you're reading this, then something has gone terribly wrong. They know what I discovered. They've already tried to buy my silence. When that failed, they tried to take everything, including the painting. Never trust anyone asking about it. The key must never leave the family. Emma stopped reading. A cold chill traveled down her spine. Someone had been searching for this painting. Over 50 years ago. She quickly untied the remaining letters. Every page mentioned the same thing. The key, the painting, someone called the Ashcroft estate. Yet none of the letters explained what the key actually opened. Only repeated one warning. Protect the truth. Emma leaned back. The room suddenly felt much quieter. She reached for the leather envelope. Unlike the letters, this one had never been opened. The wax seal was still intact. Stamped into the wax was the exact same letter engraved on the brass key. A. Carefully, Emma broke the brittle seal. Inside was a folded map, an old newspaper clipping, and a single sentence written in bold black ink. The truth waits where the first sunrise touches the stone. Emma frowned. It sounded more like a riddle than directions. She unfolded the map. It showed an old section of the city. Many streets no longer existed. One location had been circled several times. Ashcroft Manor. Emma immediately searched for it online. Nothing. No hotel. No museum. No historic site. Only a few forgotten newspaper archives. One headline caught her attention. Historic Ashcroft estate destroyed by fire. Year 1974. Emma opened the article. According to the report, the mansion had burned to the ground overnight. Authorities ruled it an electrical accident. No survivors. She looked back at the letters. Something didn't fit. If the estate burned down, why hide a key afterward? And why did someone spend decades protecting it? Before she could think any further, her phone suddenly rang. Unknown number. Emma hesitated, then answered. Hello. Silence. Only soft breathing. Then, a calm elderly man's voice. You bought the painting today. Emma's heart stopped. Who is this? You found what's inside. Emma said nothing. The voice continued. Listen very carefully. There are people who have been looking for that painting for a very long time. If anyone asks, you found nothing. The call ended. Emma stared at her phone in complete silence. Slowly, she looked back toward the open painting, the brass key, the letters, and the mysterious map spread across her table. Someone knew she had opened the hidden compartment, and somehow, they had found her. Emma couldn't move. Her phone was still in her hand. The unknown caller knew about the painting. He knew she had opened it. He even knew she had found the hidden compartment. Slowly, she walked to her apartment window. The street below looked ordinary. Cars passed by. People walked their dogs. Everything seemed normal. Yet, for the first time in years, Emma felt like someone might be watching her. She quickly closed the curtains. The painting, the brass key, the letters, and the old map all lay across the dining table. She picked up the map once more. Her eyes stopped on one small handwritten note she hadn't noticed before. The cellar survived. Her heart skipped a beat. The Ashcroft Manor may have burned, but something beneath it remained. The next morning, Emma drove to the location shown on the map. The mansion was gone. Only an abandoned field remained. Tall grass covered broken stone walls. Nature had almost erased every trace of the old estate. Almost. Emma compared the map to the landscape. Then she noticed it. An old stone fountain, exactly where it appeared on the map, covered in vines, cracked with age, but still standing. She walked toward it. The words from the letter echoed in her mind. The truth waits where the first sunrise touches the stone. The morning sun had just risen. Its light struck one side of the fountain. A single carved stone reflected the sunlight differently than the others. Emma knelt beside it. The stone felt loose. She pushed. Nothing. Then she inserted the brass key into a tiny keyhole hidden beneath years of dirt. Click. A deep mechanical sound echoed underground. The heavy stone slowly slid aside, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. Emma's heartbeat pounded in her ears. She switched on her flashlight. Each step carried decades of dust. Cobwebs stretched across the stone walls. At the bottom, she discovered an underground vault untouched for over 50 years. Shelves lined the room. Old wooden boxes stood neatly stacked. In the center rested a large iron chest. The same letter, A, was engraved across its lock. Emma inserted the brass key. The lock turned effortlessly. As the heavy lid opened, she expected gold, jewelry, cash. Instead, she found something far more valuable. Dozens of original legal documents, property deeds, birth certificates, signed contracts, bank records, and one leather journal. She opened the first page. My name is Arthur Ashcroft. If you are reading this, then the truth has finally survived. Emma read every page. Arthur Ashcroft had discovered that several powerful business partners had forged documents, stolen family property, and intentionally set fire to the estate to destroy every piece of evidence. But Arthur escaped before the fire. He secretly copied every document proving the fraud, knowing they would kill anyone searching for them. He hid everything inside the painting. Only one key existed, the very key Emma now held. The final page ended with a simple request. To whoever finds this, don't make us rich. Make us whole again. Tears filled Emma's eyes. She wasn't looking at treasure. She was holding justice. Several weeks later, the documents were authenticated. The investigation reopened one of the city's oldest unsolved fraud cases. Living descendants of the Ashcroft family finally recovered property that had been stolen generations earlier. News outlets across the country covered the incredible discovery. Reporters called Emma a hero, but she never saw herself that way. She simply followed her curiosity. One afternoon, the surviving Ashcroft family invited Emma to visit. An elderly woman embraced her tightly. My grandfather spent his entire life searching for this truth. You gave our family its name back. They offered Emma a substantial financial reward. She accepted only enough to renovate the old garage where the painting had been found. Months later, that building reopened as a free community museum dedicated to preserving forgotten family histories and lost memories. The $1 painting, once considered worthless, hung quietly in the museum's entrance, not because it was valuable, but because it reminded everyone that sometimes history hides in the places people stop looking. And sometimes the greatest treasure isn't money. It's giving the truth a second chance.